Okay, I am inside the headset of a Quest 3. I'm going to press the meta button that's on the right controller, the all-important meta button. That brings up the universal menu bar, as well as the most recently opened system window. So I'm going to show you how to connect wireless headphones. In the universal menu bar, select the quick controls icon. It's the second last one from the left. And then in the quick controls window, select Bluetooth. In the Bluetooth window, select the device. And then in the device window, select connect if it's not already connected. So I've just disconnected it. I'm gonna go back, reselect the device. Here in the device window, I'm going to select connect. Make sure your Bluetooth device is in a state that it can connect. Okay, so that's done. So to access Bodyswaps or any other app within the library of your given headset, select the library icon. It's a central one in the universal menu bar. Depending how your headset is configured, Bodyswaps app might be among the first apps. If not, you might need to use the right analog stick to scroll through the app library window. You could also squeeze the trigger button, and then while holding it, move the controller up and down to navigate the window. You could also use the search function that's on the left-hand side of the window. Now, Bodyswaps should already be installed. If not, you will need to download and install it, but it should be in the library window regardless. So let's go ahead and point to and select the Bodyswaps app. So it will load. Now, at any given time, for any app, press the meta button, and that will bring up the universal menu bar and the most recently accessed system menu. Even if the app appears kind of in the way, the system window takes precedence. And if you want to quit the app at any time, press the meta button, and then in the universal menu bar, select the app icon. It'll be the first icon after the avatar. Just point to and select it, and then you can go to quit and return home. In this case, we're ready to continue, so we'll close this window. And then press the meta button again to exit the system windows. Okay, welcome to Bodyswaps. Use your virtual finger to touch UI buttons. Tap the start button below to continue. Go ahead and start. Once the app's loaded, we'll go into this home space. Okay, you'll be prompted to sign in using the unique 6-digit passcode. It will be generated from a web page that will be emailed to you one way or another. It might have been sent from the course or class admin. You might have requested the invite from a QR code, but once you have that unique 6-digit code, go ahead and enter it. One thing to note, just in general, if you're using the VR version of this app, the virtual touch controls can be quite sensitive. So you might accidentally, on purpose, touch something that you don't intend to. Be mindful of where your controllers, your virtual hands are. Maybe set them at rest. You might need to physically move yourself a little bit farther away from the in-app windows. Let's go ahead. Okay. welcome. Now, I've already signed in with this specific user profile, so I already have my avatar selected. But if it's your first ever usage of the app will prompt you to select one of 12 different avatars, and you'll have to calibrate the touch controls. You'll be prompted to touch floating blocks that spell out the word hello. Now, if you want to change your avatar, press the menu button on the left controller, and this menu appears. Now, the options might not always be present. It really depends on the context. But there's various settings here, like language, check for updates. You can accessibility options. You can go to user profile, change your avatar, log out. And you can also quit the application from within the application as opposed to the meta button, which is always accessible. Okay, so I've got the class in question. Within a class, you might have pathways, which are curated collections of activities, or you might just have a collection of standalone activities within the class. Right. Now, in this particular class, this pathway within a class, there's different activities, but the progression is linear, so we're forced to do them in order. In other words, that might or might not be the case with your actual assignment. Let's go ahead and download this activity. Once it's ready, the text will say ready. Well, let's go ahead and click. So there's an introductory screen. Depending on the activity, there might be hints that give you more context about the situation that might help you do a bit better. Let's go ahead and continue. But before we do that, actually, within the app, if you press the A button on the right controller, this will bring up a PDA, and you can view notes that are applicable to the activity in question. You can also bring up a menu to leave the module, but not the app itself. Now, on the left controller, the controllers are a little bit inconsistent. They seem to be contextual. If you press the X button on the left controller, this brings up another menu that will allow you to resume, exit to a safe space temporarily, and TV focus. I'm not sure what that does. Well, let's try the safe space. It just takes you immediately out of the app. You're in limbo, and once you're ready to return, you may do so. You can do so. Okay. And then on the left controller, the menu button, it's not used as often, but it will give you, that's another means to exit the module, but not the app itself. Okay. Just note that for the VR version, some activities might evaluate your body language as well as your eye contact. It's kind of vague about how the app does that, but that's just something to consider. Let's go ahead and continue. AI disclaimer. Continue. Getting ready.
Hi, I'm Alice. It's nice to meet you. Are you here for the psychology conference as well?
Okay, so you'll see this window has prompts to record our response. There's a record input as well as an exit input. Be careful if you're the kind of person who talks with your hands. If you're holding your controller, you might accidentally on purpose hit exit. Your hand hits exit as you're moving to or from its resting position. That's why I recommend using the left controller to record, right controller for exit. Let's go ahead, record. See here, Alice, how's it going? My name's Tim. How are you doing?
Hey Tim, I'm doing well, thanks for asking. A bit nervous about presenting my research later, but overall, I'm excited to be here. What about you?
Okay, so just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to click exit. You can see there's no prompts. The app does not ask for confirmation about whether you want to exit. Let's go to continue. And we get prompted if we want to submit the transcript of this conversation to your tutor. So the transcript is not a transcript of the dialogue. It's just really proof of completion. And the instructors and the admins do not see the app's ratings for your activity. It just shows whether or not you've completed it. So let's do a little bit more. Let's try again. So get personalized feedback. Again, eye contact is kind of vague. It's kind of hard to hit that. Depending on the activity, it might not be even considered or evaluated. Let's go ahead and submit. Okay, after an activity, often the app will ask you for feedback about the app itself. We get this virtual certificate to confirm that we're complete, and then the administrator, instructor, admin, they'll be able to see on their end. Okay, so here's another activity. This one's a bit more passive. So again, an introductory message to give us some context. Let's get started.
To do a job like ours well, you really need to be able to see things from the perspective of the people you're caring for and demonstrate empathy for each individual.
A little empathy goes a long way, especially when someone's already struggling, which so many of the people we talk to every day are. Empathy makes each person feel heard and understood.
In a minute, we're going to ask you to think about some situations you may come across at work to help you explore your ability to empathize with people in your care.
We've taken these scenarios from across the entire scope of health and social care, so don't worry if they're not all relevant to your job. Just try to answer as honestly as you can. It's not a test.
Okay, here goes. How would you respond if a person you were caring for told you they were having trouble quitting smoking?
So in this activity, speaking is optional. As you can see from the instructions, we can either select one of the three options or answers. Again, I've
Okay, what about this one? A patient in your care expresses a dislike for the curry they've been given for dinner.
So in that instance, I accidentally on purpose selected an option that I didn't want to.
You're in someone's home and they react with anger when you ask them how their physio has been going. Demonstrating that you empathize is the first step towards treating them with dignity and respect.
Would you like to have another go?
I'll finish and exit. Another activity. Welcome to Clear Communications. Okay, again, an introductory window to give us context of the activity at large, as well as maybe in this case, a portion of the activity. Continue. Okay, now, as you can see, some activities will ask you to rate your confidence in various skills before the activity, and of course, you'll be prompted to do the same after the activity. Defensive Daniel. Okay, so defensive Daniel, you are going to meet two colleagues, Daniel and Sonia. Observe their conversation and think about how Daniel is communicating with Sonia. Click each time Daniel exhibits poor communication practices. Use your clicks wisely. There are 8 items and you have only 10 clicks. Click anywhere to begin. So click in this instance actually means like the trigger buttons. So I can use the trigger button on either controller. That's what click means in this context. The wording is more intended for the desktop application. Now just keep in mind some activities will have you pressing either the left trigger or the right trigger depending on what you want to communicate to the app. So for example, you might press the left trigger to identify instances of negative behaviors and the right trigger to identify instances of positive behaviors in real time. So this is a real-time activity. So it's going to progress like a normal conversation, and I've got to press the trigger as they happen. So let's go ahead, trigger press. Build a compelling case. Go ahead and continue. Okay, so we're going to continue. This instance where we're going to talk freely. So just one input, start recording. Okay, so I've stated my case, and then the app gives me the option to replay what I've communicated from Sonia's perspective in this case. It's kind of like a double negative. If we don't want to try again, that's essentially saying we want to continue, like proceed. Okay, so that's a primer for the Bodyswaps app.